Hey, I'm back and welcome to today's video where I am sharing 3 unspoken truths about daycare that I wish I knew about before sending my first and third child off to daycare. So if this sounds interesting to you because you're wondering what it's like to send a bub to daycare, then this is the video for you. Stay tuned, give it a big thumbs up because it really does support my channel. Don't forget to hit subscribe and tap that bell so you get notified when we upload every single week. And let's get right into our 3 unspoken truths. If this is our first time meeting, thank you so much for clicking on today's video. I am sharing the experiences that we've had sending our eldest firstborn daughter and our youngest son to nursery for the first times. Our middle daughter, she actually went to family daycare, and that is a completely different experience if you are sending your bub off to a family daycare setting or a setting where there is a smaller group of kids being looked after. I feel like our experience with our firstborn and our current son, who is 11 months old, have been similar, and it's also been at different daycares, which is the reason why I have titled this video Unspoken Daycare Truths, especially for the nursery room, because I feel like these are things that generally do happen. And please do not think that this is a complaint video at all, because I'm actually sharing the strategies that we have used to journey through these problems to get the most out of it for our son and for us as a family to build that good relationship and to problem solve. So let's get into our first unspoken truth. Our first unspoken truth, I think, is one that probably is spoken a lot about, and especially in the daycare circle, and that is sickness. Sickness is bound to happen when you are sending your bub off to nursery, especially if your bub is the same as us and they are going 5 days a week. I did find it rather interesting because when we first sent Finneas into nursery, he was still getting breastfed, and during that time he didn't get sick at all. However, we had a really horrible clash of both winter hitting and Finn weaning off onto formula that he then got sick, and he has been sick for the last 2 months, I would say, whether that's just a simple common cold all the way up to him getting tested for COVID and making sure that things aren't worse than what we think it is, which praise God it hasn't been, but he has been rather sick. So that is something that is bound to happen, especially in a daycare setting. And for bubs, they are in a room where everything is going into their mouth. So if one child is sick, it is most likely to go through that entire room. We have found as parents something that is really helpful is if you do have some sort of sickness happen, take your bub to the doctor and get a medical certificate and an action plan on the best care for them. After Finn got sick with gastro, he got a really bad nappy rash. There was a certain day that I got really worried about his nappy rash because it was quite hot to touch and it was looking really red and aggressive, and I did take him to the doctor, and we got a medical certificate to say that 1, he was okay to go to daycare, and 2, to give him pain relief every 4 hours for Panadol because his nappy rash was hurting and his teeth were also cutting through at the same time. And we found this a really helpful way to make sure that the quality of care really did cater for Finn. Some centers don't like to give Panadol because obviously if they're giving Panadol, it's because the child is sick and they're wanting you to pick them up. And Finn wasn't sick, he was just having a really bad reaction to his bottom and having nappy rash as well as the teething. So that meant he wasn't gonna pass it on, he wasn't contagious, and we needed him to go to nursery so that we could go to our jobs. And so this was a way of getting around it and making sure that he did have that quality care without there being any questions, because just because you say something as a parent, sometimes it doesn't exactly align with childcare policy, and so you really do want to be a united front, and we have found this really helpful. Another recommendation I have for when your child is sick is have a plan B or C, so that if your child is sick and can't go to daycare or just needs to have a day where they can just sleep in their own environment and get better that way, have that backup plan, whether it means that you or your husband or wife works from home, or you have a family member that is able to look after your child, or that really close friend who you trust. Have that plan, because sometimes all your kid needs is to have that time away to recuperate, to get their immune system back up and running, and then head off to care. The second S of our unspoken daycare truths is sleep. This is something that really broke us with Amira, our firstborn, and the whole reason why we went to family daycare afterwards is because Amira would only nap. And there were a couple of days that I would pick her up and she would have only done like maybe an hour all day, which is just unacceptable. It doesn't help with child development. It doesn't help if they are sick to get better. And it was a reason why we kind of got put off childcare centers to begin with and went to family daycare. However, we're now in a season of life where daycare centers is what our family needs because we have such a variety of ages, with Amira being at school and then the 2 little kids being in daycare. Having them all on the one campus is really helpful. And with sleep at the moment, Finn is currently doing a short sleep, a nap of 1 sleep cycle, which is 40 minutes. And then he'll do a second sleep where he is getting an hour. The hour sleep really does concern me because I know that a sleep cycle is 40 minutes, which means that he is waking up midway through a sleep cycle. And this is the trickiest part, is when you have up to 8 babies in a nursery room, there are multiple personalities, various sleep routines, and it would be extremely difficult to balance all of that as educators, which my heart goes out to them. And at the same time, we as parents are trying to do what's best for our kids. So a strategy that we have found super duper helpful is just to have an open communication with your child's educator. We have been in constant contact with Finn's nursery staff to hear what strategies they're implementing, to figure out, is there something exterior that is happening that's preventing him from sleeping, like is he sick or teething or whatever. When he had a sniffly nose, we brought in Vicks so that his airways were clear so that he could go to sleep and he wasn't waking up because of him not being able to breathe properly. And so communication is absolutely key. We've also now have had to adjust our afternoon routine, which can be tricky and it can be frustrating, but it is just for a season. So currently, because Finn is only getting an hour 40 of daytime sleep, and above his age should be getting a maximum of 4 hours, we come home and Finn will complete another hour and a half to 2 hours at home. This is tricky, and I mean really tricky, because my 2 eldest girls want to get out and about after a school day. They want to be riding their bikes. There's some afternoons where it would be really helpful to go out and pick something up from the shops that I need. However, we are having to come home, which is hard, but like I said, it's just a season. Sometimes it can influence how his weekend routines go, but generally he kind of has his daycare routine and then he has his home routine. So on the weekends, he'll sleep for an hour 20 in the morning and then have a big 2-hour sleep, which means we have our afternoons free on the weekend to do family activities like walking or going to the park or having our adventure. So it's a tricky thing to balance between the expectations of school or nursery and home. And it's something that we are in constant communication with, which leads me to my third and final unspoken truth, and that is support. The childcare center wants to be in a good relationship with you guys as parents. It is a team effort to be raising your child together, and like I said with sleep, open communication is absolutely key. Do not be worried that you are going to be one of those parents who complain. I think it's in the way that you communicate that makes the difference. If you are respectful and peaceful and mindful of the general overall situation, then I feel like you can be the voice for your child and to come up with strategies and compromises between expectations and reality of what's going to happen within the nursery. Throughout the whole year, we have been in communication directly with Finn's nursery staff members as well as the director of the childcare center, and I feel like we are coming into some sort of rhythm between the expectation and reality. And something that got implemented, which is so amazing, is a communication book, and through that it means that there is no broken line of communication. We're able to communicate when Finn woke up, when he had his first bottle, when he had his last nappy change, and if there's anything key that we need the educators to know, there's a note section that we can write. So when Finn did have his bad nappy rash, we wrote, could you please keep the cream in the fridge because that will help soothe him. He recently was not crawling properly, and so there was an exercise that they needed to do at the nappy changes, so we communicated that in his note section. Sometimes it's hard to do it through an app. We do have an app called Story Park, which is great for observation, but sometimes it's hard for us as parents to send communication back because it does get lost a little bit, or things become busy because they do have so many babies in their care. So having this paper copy of the book has really been helpful. We have then asked for extra things like when they put Finn down versus the time that he actually falls asleep, because we wanted to see what was happening and whether it was Finn or the day and how it was rolling out. And so all of these things really give us peace of mind on the quality of care that Finn is getting and the different strategies that are being used. So don't be afraid to be in communication with the staff and support them. Something that is such a small thing yet goes a really long way is appreciation. And I feel like if you appreciate the staff members who are looking after your child, it will in return encourage them to continue to putting in their best effort. As a teacher, when my families say thanks for just me doing my job, it really does give me that boost to continue doing a great job. And I know Finn's nursery staff members do such a great job in accommodating for our goals for Finn, that giving them, you know, a treat or a thank you note or just a present at Easter and Christmas really does go a long way. And I highly recommend that you do encourage and you do build a good relationship with your child's education staff members, because they are doing a fantastic job at trying to balance every family's desires and needs. And I know personally I am more invested when Finn is a bub because he can't communicate versus Zoe, who's in pre-kindy and can use her words. Zoe is able to defend for herself and she's able to use her words to express that to her educators. So I hope you've liked today's video. If you have, please give it a big thumbs up. It helps me to know that you like this sort of content. Sometimes we can't help sending our kids off to childcare, daycare, whatever the situation may be, because we need to go back to work and we need to provide for our families. But just because it's a bad situation doesn't mean that you have to be stuck in that. And that's not me saying that we're in a bad situation, but there are some things that are uncontrollable and we just have to be on that personal journey to work through. But there's other times where you can be in communication with the team and coming up with a compromise and a resolution so that you can have a common goal together. And that's what I want to encourage you with, is as you are getting your child ready, or if your child is already in nursery and you're not happy with something, chat with them. See what's happening, what's the game plan to move forward. It doesn't have to be the way that it is. And if it is, then maybe you need to seek alternative care for your kid. I know we really did enjoy family daycare, but we just got to a season where family daycare was just too much to juggle with working full time and having a child at primary school, a child who needs to be getting ready for kindy, and then if we had a child at family daycare, that's 4 drop-offs and 4 pickups with us, including our work places. And that's just, yeah, one too many balls to juggle. So thank you so much for watching this video. Please give it that big thumbs up. Don't forget to hit subscribe and tap that bell, because this parenting gig doesn't come with a rule book. We only have each other. And I'll see you in my next video. Bye.
I'm somewhere in the middle, try to find myself again, but life is one big riddle.